Welcome or welcome back. My name is Grace. Today is Tuesday, February 17th. As of this moment, YouTube is down. Isn't that weird? Like my whole family had a fit. Let me see. Yeah, it is still showing down, but Iggy called me. He's 14. So he's the youngest member in the household. My parents in their 70s are having a fit because they're just so used to watching YouTube all day. But anyways, let me get to the point. I have started this book. I am 45% of the way into it and I am so into it. I went into the office today and I was just thinking like, I cannot wait to go home and finish this book. The book is called Tradwife by Saratoga Schaefer. And when I saw what it was about, I was like, okay, this is going to be a hit or a miss. I don't see this landing in between because it is just so many like trendy things in it. And it's just like, it could be just like, she got all the buzzwords, but it's turning out to be a really, really good story. And all day I was thinking, like, I wonder how this is going to end. So, where I'm at right now, well, let me give you the synopsis. So, Camille is our main character. She is the only POV that we are in this book. And she is 24 years old. She is a young housewife. She has been married for 3 years. And she is a micro influencer in the tradwife movement. So she talks about her influencing career and who she wants to emulate. She sees this woman, Mara Shoemaker, she has a huge platform and she wants to copy her. And she's like, she sends her messages and she doesn't reply. And she's like, that's fine. Like, I get she's a huge influencer, but I hope she notices me one day. And she has moved out to the country recently and she has no friends. She's very lonely all day. She lives like in the middle of nowhere. She has like one neighbor way down the street, but Camille herself does not have a car. Her husband's gone in the city all day. And this is something that they both wanted. And she talks about like their courtship and stuff, where they talked about what they wanted. And you can see all the ways Camille has made herself small. And she doesn't even like acknowledge it herself. It's just like she sees that Graham is not interested when she's talking about her job. And she's like, yeah, but that's just a job. Like, I want to be a tradwife. And like once she said that, he was like, okay, yeah, like tell me about that. So she's constantly like pivoting the conversation. Like if he's not that interested, she's always trying to get his attention and trying to say the right thing. And it's just something that comes natural to her. And the reason why this comes natural to her is her mother passed away when she was 8 years old. And from that moment, she had to be the woman of the house. So she had to cook and clean. And cleaning came easy to her, but cooking did not. So she says that at 8 years old, she was trying to make food and it wasn't good. But finally, when she was about 14, she made her father the perfect steak. And he was like, finally, Camille. Finally, like, I don't have to pretend like I like your food and get takeout after you go to bed. So it's just like, what do you mean you were letting this 8-year-old make food for herself? And basically that was all she was eating and it was bad. And you were feeding yourself and she was just eating like burned, crappy food for years. So when she gets this compliment from her dad, she's finally, and she's happy that she pleased her father. So she's always looking for male validation in that way. And she has been trying to get pregnant, but it has not worked out for her. And she's desperate for a baby. But when her husband comes home, he really doesn't want to. Like they're just not having any kind of sexual relations. So she's just like, how does he want me to have a baby? Like, this is important to both of us. But somehow, like, I'm the one that's bearing the burden of this because everyone's asking her, when are you guys going to have a baby? And it's kind of like the assumption that something is wrong with her, but she doesn't want to go to the doctor. So one day she is out in the fields. There's a huge well that's kind of broken down at the edge of the property. And she throws a penny in and makes a wish. And from then on, these really creepy, sinister things start happening. She takes pictures at the well that day. And then and this was after she threw the penny in. She was just kind of trying to shake it off and be like, okay, let me just take pictures. And when she reviews those pictures, she sees these creepy shadows that look like they're oozing out of the well. When she's alone in the house, she hears things and it's like, we don't know if it's in her mind or what's really happening. And she starts having really, really weird dreams. And where this eye comes up and he's asking her like why she wants a baby. And this eye tells her, you will have a baby. And there is this like creature that come to her and like, they make a baby. But she describes this creature to us like like it has claws, it has like leathery wings and this and that. And she's convincing herself that this was an angel, because they're related. Like, you kind of just see like parallels in certain things with the trad life movement, like the very Christian movement. And I feel like if you are like, I'm not anti-religion, but what I see right now in the tradwife movement, in the Christian movement, it seems like sinister to me. So reading this book, you see all these parallels to that, like with Camille trying to convince herself that this is an angel when very clearly it's not. It's something evil and demonic, but it's giving her what she wants. So she's looking the other way and convincing herself like, no, this was an angel. And she keeps calling it a creature, but she's just like, no, no, it was an angel. And just her pregnancy cravings and what's going on, like it's not normal. You know what I mean? And another thing that was like really small but kind of funny is her favorite influencer posts something about scones. And she says like they're folic acid free because folic acid is terrible for babies and pregnant women. Which like if you've ever, had a baby, the folic acid is the first thing they tell you you need to have a healthy baby. And so Camille kind of messages this woman, this influencer. She's just like, what do you mean? And she just gives her like this, like, oh, like the scientist and this and that. And Camille like knows better because she did have a degree in biology, or she was studying biology. And this is also kind of like a part of her psyche. Camille did study biology and she was very excited about it. And she started this project. I forgot what exactly it was about. And she did not get like a good grade on it. Basically, they were tearing her thesis apart and telling her it was kind of like ambitious for her and poking holes in it. And that made her like leave biology because she was like, I don't have thick skin. So as much as she loved biology, she didn't get the validation she wanted. So she turned away from it and made herself into this tradwife and being like, okay, that's not what I wanted. This is what I want. And so there's this whole like folic acid thing that's like kind of like running throughout the book, like just her denouncing it and saying like, I'm also making these folic acid. I don't even know if you can do that. Like, it's just so stupid. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And she is with child. I mean, you get that from the cover. So it's not a huge spoiler. But I'm just so excited to see how this turned out. And I rarely feel that way about books. Usually, like, as I'm reading, like, I'm just along for the journey. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I wonder if this is going to happen. I bet this is going to happen. This is the first book that I read in a while where I am just like so excited to find out how this ends. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm going to get to reading and I will check in a little bit later. All right, it is now Saturday morning. I did end up finishing Tradwife that night. I just got really busy the rest of the week, but I love that book. And I feel like when I read a book that I really enjoy, like I'm cool not starting another book for a minute, just like kind of thinking about the book that I just finished and enjoyed. And this was a book I loved. Like I loved the whole thing. There wasn't a part where I had to like kind of force myself to get into it or the ending left me unsatisfied. Like I just enjoyed it from start to finish. So there were a couple of things that just made it really fun. One, I realized this about myself. I can't think of another book, but I love a character that I hate that I feel like something bad's going to happen to them. And in this book, it was obviously Graham. And he was just like an unredeemable character. Like I'm sure he was an average person, but just like he wasn't a good man. He wasn't a good husband. He was somebody like he's very like his characteristics were very what a conservative Christian man wants. So like he wants a wife that stays home. He wants her to like be at his beck and call, to look a certain way, absorb all his ideology. But then he acts like it's a burden. Like, oh, I have to buy you this. I have to support this. I'll give you an allowance. And he's just like obviously drifting away from Camille. And we're in her head. So we see that like there's times where she realizes like there's something not right here. Like he'll smell like perfume, or he'll say like, oh, I didn't come home because it was raining. She checks the weather. It wasn't raining. He's always tilting his phone away from her. And these are things that she notices but refuses to acknowledge and like really think about what that means for her. Because obviously that means she has nothing because she didn't have a career. She didn't finish college. What would she have if she leaves this marriage? Like she did everything right and it's not enough. And the whole horror element, I feel like it was scary. Not scary, but it had those horror elements in the beginning. And then as she accepts her pregnancy, it kind of just like, it's no longer horror. It's just kind of funny. Like it's just kind of a vehicle for other things to happen. Like at first it was like, not scaring me, but just like, oh, this is like a good imagery of something like scary happening where it's like, it's kind of drawing you in. But like I said, like once she gets going and she's like, okay, I guess I eat raw meat for my pregnancy. It's just a vehicle like to move things along. And also like, obviously her baby is born different and she becomes, like I said, she was a tradwife. So she posts pictures of her daughter and she's like editing the filters and like capturing her in certain lights. So it's not obvious like what her differences are, but she becomes very protective of her daughter. And she starts thinking about other like tradwives and how they post their children so much and what kind of hate comments they get and how the child doesn't really sign up for that kind of thing. So she's kind of like thinking like, how how don't these women feel this urge to protect their child like the way I do? Eventually she scrubs her feed of anything of her child because she started to get like negative comments like why does she look this way, or stuff like that. So, and there's this point where she talks about Graham. Like I did highlight a few points parts of the book. It's like after she has the baby, she says, Graham has not come back to me the way I wanted. In fact, he's drifting even further away. His affection is limited, and there are times where I think I can see gaps in his kindness. Has this always been there, or am I just noticing now? Or could it be that this man simply isn't who I thought he was, and only now, with the impending arrival of someone I already unconditionally love, am I realizing it? And just like she thought Graham was this perfect man that was going to save her. And she ends up feeling like, oh, I can tell he resents me now. And she has nothing to do to like save her in this point. And just like she's navigating motherhood alone because that's her thing. And just how he picks and chooses what she can or can't do like for her benefit. So he'll say like, you know what, like you can't, like, you should stay home while I'll go out with my friends. You stay home because you need to rest. But he still expects like the house cleaned and her to cook food and stuff. And you see her rage building up. And that's like kind of what was funny about it. So she's always very polite to her husband. She's exactly who he wants her to be. And there's this night where like he's like, I'll bring wine. And she's like, cool. And she makes like fish, I think. And he just says something like, oh, well, I wish you would have made lamb because I brought like red wine. And in her mind, she's thinking, well, if you fucking communicated to me, maybe I could have made lamb. Like, when she says it out loud, but like in a more polite, like, oh, maybe we should communicate more. And he's just like shocked that she would like, he took this as an attack, like, cause he should have called. Like if he had a specific idea of what he wanted, why would he assume that she should know? And it was a funny book. Like it was like, I hate to say it, but I feel like right now, like the theme of feminine rage, it could sound a little cliche with everybody just saying feminine rage. But like, I feel like this book very subtly captured all the little ways that women make up for men in a relationship where they just pick up the slack or just like, I know what he means, I'll do this, or have to guide them to do their part in a marriage as a father and whatever. So I loved this book. Like, I feel like it was like a top 5 book. I recommended it to my friend. I recommended it to my coworker, and she was immediately like, I'm going to see if like I can get the book club to read this because this looks really good. So that was the book that I read. All right. And now the book that I'm going to be reading this weekend. This is Dollface by Lindy Ryan. Last weekend we were at Barnes & Noble and I saw this book, and I have read a Lindy Ryan book before, but this was just not on my radar. And it just looked so good because it says, Barbie meets Scream with a 90s nostalgia twist in this horror romp from Bless Your Heart by Lindy Ryan. And like, I just love all of it. Like this is told in the perspective of someone that is in the PTA. So I'm assuming she's a mom, probably in her 30s, early 40s or so. And there's a killer on the loose. But like, I loved, what was that other book? Home is Where the Bodies Are. Like I love like a 90s angle in books. So I was excited to read this. And once I got home and I wanted to see reviews, I saw that this was actually like, it's not due to be out until February 24th, which is 3 days away. So I feel like my Barnes & Noble just had them out early because like you cannot get this book either online, Kindle, hardcover, or whatever. But so that was like, okay. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But I did read Bless Your Heart by Lindy Ryan, and I did enjoy it. Like there was a young adult aspect that I was kind of like, because in Bless Your Heart, you have like, it's kind of like told by the grandma, mother, and daughter. And the story was more focused on the daughter. So, I wasn't that into that. But I feel like this being told in the perspective of a mother, like I'm just going to relate to it more. I'm going to enjoy it more. So that's the book that I am going to read. And very quickly, let me talk about this book that I read in January because I did really enjoy it. Like it's not like a book where I'm like, everybody has to read this, but I enjoyed it and I want to read more of the author's books. But like as it was, like I bought it on my e-reader, and I love the cover. I was like, I would love to have this book. But I was like, okay, I'm trying to cut down on clutter. And for me, books is the hardest thing for me to cut down on. Like I can get rid of clothes, makeup, or whatever. I don't have like an attachment to it. But books is hard for me. But I'm just trying to cut down. But then I saw the UK cover of this book and I was like, okay, like I have to get it. Stop it, Shoo. He just heard a package being opened and came to be nosy. So it is a little ripped. So that's a little disappointing. But this was Meet the Newmans by Jennifer Niven. And look at like this. Let me see. Like, is that not so fun? The other cover was really nice too, but like the edging, it got me. So in this book, it takes place in the 60s, and you have this family, the Newmans, and basically Dina and her husband Dell were actors, like not super successful ones, but they were in shows, movies, and whatever. And then they decided to make this show about their family. So they're basically playing themselves as they had these two young kids, and over time they became like America's Family. But this in the 50s, it was very popular. But in the 50s, it was very popular. But now we're in the 60s, and people feel like this show is out of touch. Like there's just so much going on in the world with like civil rights, like Kennedy's assassination, and that yet every Friday night there's the Newmans like pretending like nothing bad has happened. The stakes are low. It's just like some silly little comedy. So this show is basically about to be canceled. They have 2 episodes left. And they're coming to terms with that. Like there is this like idea that maybe they can get it renewed, but they kind of know it's a long shot. So they're more focused on ending their series like with a bang. Like they have Dell Newman has done the production, the writing, the contracts. Like this show is his baby, so he wants to do it justice as it ends. But something happens where Dell is now incapacitated and he cannot write the last 2 shows. He can't star in them. So the family has to figure out what they're trying to do. So you have Dina Newman, who is in her 40s, and like her whole story arc is like realizing that she is getting older and she may not have the pull that she used to have, but she should have more rights. So she is married, she has these 2 kids, and she's happy, she's content being a wife and mother. But she realizes, like, even though I'm content, like, I should be valued more. Because as Dell Newman is like, he can't do anything, everyone figures, oh, well, she can't either. And she's thinking, like, I have been right alongside him this whole time. Like, I have always contributed, but I've never asked to be compensated exactly because I figured we're all a family, we all get paid. And there's this one point where she realizes, like, do I even get paid as much as Dell? And it's not really answer, like, but she starts thinking about it. So she has this young reporter, Juliet, who starts pushing at her. I did not like Juliet. She was my least favorite part of this book just because she seems so dumb. Like she's in her early 20s and she's really campaigning for women's rights. But instead of hating the patriarchy, she like specifically hates women like Dina Newman. And she does have like a personal thing with it because her mom loved Dina and she always wanted to be like Dina and she wanted her life to be like Dina's. So she's just like, so she thinks like women like you have sold women like my mother like a dream that they can't have. And Dina does acknowledge it because she's like, I don't actually cook, I don't actually clean. So I get that I play the part of a homemaker and I don't actually have to do it. And it's just kind of like dealing with all that stuff. And she does think to herself, like, as she's still a beautiful woman, but she's like, I actually used my looks a lot to get by in life. And now what do I have? And then you have the eldest son guy. He has a very like, I felt like it was predictable. Like I knew exactly where his storyline was going to go, but he's trying to break out from under his dad's shadow. He wants to be a director, but his dad never really let him. And just being like a young man in Hollywood that has his own dreams, but he has that feeling that he has to stick with his family and do what they expect him to do. You have the youngest boy, Shep, who is like about 19. He wants to be a rock and roll star. That whole squeaky clean image that the show has been holding him back. But you just see this family in the 60s as the world is changing around them, and they're white, well-off people, so it doesn't affect them, but they're in the world. There's this part where Shep walks out of a club and he says like the night air feels charged. Like this is how it has felt like throughout the beginning of the 60s, throughout the middle of the 60s, where it feels like something is going to happen, but we don't know what. Like America has been fighting itself and it's just like, it feels like at any time something can happen. But I did really enjoy this book and I do want to check out her other books. But yeah, I'm going to get situated for the weekend and I'll check in when I've started reading Dollface. All right, it is 11 or so o'clock. Me and Iggy wake up so early. We wake up at 7, but it just takes forever for us to get like situated for the morning. But we just did his stretches. He's laying down. I'm sitting down. I'm about to read Dollface. I read like a little bit, but I'm going to go back and restart it. I'm very excited. I hope to finish this book this weekend. And so far, the best thing to come out of 2026 so far is they brought back the Ice Vanilla Berry and Summer Peach permanently. But yeah, so I'm excited. I'm going to start reading and I'll check in when I have something to say. All right, I am up to page 64. This is a very wordy book to get through. Like I have a lot of distractions going on today. That's kind of why I haven't gotten so far. I keep having to reread things. For example, like just a quick example, she wakes up and her phone battery is low. Iggy keeps opening like all the doors, saying hi to everybody, and then they come in, and it's just like, okay. Anyways, she says, the battery icon is already red when I wrestle it free. Hopefully because I forgot to put the stupid thing on the charger and not because the muted group text is sucking my iPhone soul as dry as my eyes. Like every sentence, not every sentence, but like a large part of it is just very, very wordy where I just have to like reread things to like fully get what it's being said. But it is a fun book. It's not as 90s as I thought it was going to be, at least so far. So the book opens up on in 1998, and it's just like a quick scene. It is a very dark moment in our main character's childhood, but it's very descriptive, very 90s. Like she's describing her sister like with like fluffy bangs, and like describing her outfit, like the neon, the black and the daisies, and like it's just like it makes you think a very specific like 90s fabric and like blockbuster and chlorine and all this stuff, right? So it is like a very dark like scene. It kind of just lets us know like what kind of pushed our author into horror. Very short, and then by the next chapter we are in present time, and our main character Jill is now in her late 30s, early 40s. She has just moved across, like I think from like Florida to New Jersey. Her husband is in the military, and she's like setting up the new house. She has a deadline to write her book, and her new neighbor pops over and introduces herself. She's very sweet, and she says like, why don't you come with me to a PTA meeting? And she kind of like forces her to come, and also says like, you can be our cultural like ambassador or something, because she's a writer, or like director of creativity, something like that, that kind of says like, oh, you're an author, you'll be great at this because you have to like bring authors to the library and this and that, blah blah blah. Our main character does not want to do this, but she's kind of just like, okay, it might be nice to have a friend. And this woman is very sweet, and she sees that this woman Darla is actually like an outcast in the PTA. They're all kind of just a little mean to her, a little rude to her, so she kind of feels like, okay, like I want to be her friend, I want to protect her, I want to at least be the nice person that she has. So that's the setting. And then I finally got to this chapter where we are in the mindset of the person that's going to end up being the killer. And like I feel like who I think it may be, it's too soon to tell, and it's too obvious. Like if it is who I think it's going to be, but the first murder has occurred, and then we're going on. So I am enjoying it. It's only like 300 or so pages, so I do feel like I will be able to finish this weekend. Um, we do want to see Dracula at some point today, so we may do that. But yeah, I'll check in later. All right, so I'm near page 100. I'm still enjoying this book. Like I said, it's a little wordy, but I'm just getting into the swing of things where it's like, okay, if I don't understand something on the first, like I get it. Like it's fine. Like sometimes I get too inside of my head and trying to like understand what things are going on, making sure I don't miss something, especially in a book like this where like anything can be a clue. I feel like the person I thought is going to be the murderer is not going to be the murderer. It's just too heavy-handed. Like there's just too many similarities. Like it's made so that I believe that this will be the killer. It's still a lot of fun though. Like I like that our main character is in her late 30s, so she's going through a lot of things that I relate to. Like she has like young kids, younger than mine, but still like she's going through all those things, like looking at her face and seeing like my face is so much different than it was. Like I see wrinkles, my lips are thinner, all of these things. And it's just like, it's fun to read. So we decided we're not going to see Dracula. Steve went to a card show earlier and he doesn't really want to go out. I saw Wuthering Heights last week, so I'm not like, I need to see a movie right now. I'm good. So I'm actually going to go get a pedicure, read while I'm there, and just keep it chill. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'll check in later. All right, so I'm not quite getting 90s vibes from the book. It's 90s in that she is a woman that grew up in the 90s, so she may have like a reference or two there. But other than the opening chapter, nothing is too 90s. I'm trying to get into the 90s with Sirius XM. I've been trying to get back into radio. I've been into music streaming for the past like decade or more. So I have been making an effort to listen to the radio, and it's been fun listening to music that I haven't listened to in God knows how long. I don't even know who this is. Jennifer Lange. But yeah, so my pedicure is done. I stopped by a boba place. Let me stop. So I got me and Anna boba, and I got us these little ice creams to try. Sublime. Which one is this? What I got? I was thinking of Sublime earlier because I want to go to Garden Grove. Because of Lent, I've been thinking about Joe's Crab Shack. Even though I no longer practice Lent, I have those like memories tied. I would go to Joe's Crab Shack on Fridays during Lent. And the only one left in California is in Garden Grove. And I told Anna we've been making plans to go. But anyways, that's besides the point. I'm going to go inside and I'm going to start reading, and I'll check in later. Right now, I looked at the old clips just trying to remind myself of where I left off, and I saw the little ice cream clips. So I bring them home and I show Anna. She was like, "Oh, I love these." And I was like, "When did you try these without me?" Apparently, like, I just forget that she's like a little person now that moves in the world without me. Like, I feel like I'm her source of everything. But yeah, she tried them. So I guess I'm glad she liked them. But anyways, back to the book. So I read most of it last night. I had like 80 or so pages left this morning, and it was a fun book. I enjoyed it. It was fun to try to figure out who the serial killer is. Like I said, there was a point where I was like, I feel like they're trying to force me into believing it's somebody, but it was like, I don't know if I believe it. And it was fun to have a main character that was kind of like me. Because she's like, she doesn't say her exact age, but I think she's like late 30s, early 40s. And so like her references are references that I get. She likes horror. I like horror. It was a little heavy handed on like the grown up goth kind of thing. Like she was saying, like, she just works it in a lot that she feels like she looks different. People treat her different. That maybe the realtor was trying to get rid of her because she had skull print leggings. And I'm just like, relax. Like I move through the world with like a darker aesthetic. Like I feel like I look exactly like a retired goth looks like. Like I don't care that much, but I just gravitate towards darker things. I'll wear a horror shirt here and there. And I feel like nobody gives a shit. And she focused a lot on that. It's not a long book. It's under 300 pages. And I know I complained that the sentences were a little convoluted, where it was hard to follow her train of thought. But I do kind of feel like, okay, like this was only 300 pages, and maybe it was kind of a tool to pad the story a little bit, because realistically, like what's happening, it happens very quickly, very like the scenes where something is happening related to like a serial killer are short, but then we're padded like with her thoughts. You know what I mean? But it was fun. Like it was a fun book. I feel like if you're an older reformed goth or someone that likes horror, I think you'll enjoy it. Like as long as you're not looking for like this crazy twisty story, just like a fun serial killer story. This was that. So did enjoy that. Anyways, that's it for this vlog, and I will see you in the next one.